Pay close attention to friends who don't clap when God blesses you. Yeah, it's so easy for people to say, I support you, I believe in you, I encourage you, and even I'm praying for you. And I know that God is going to do this for you, and I'm your biggest cheerleader until God actually blesses you, until God actually opens that door. Then they get quiet. Then they get silent and act as if they didn't know or they didn't see it. I'm praying that God will put true friends in your corner, in your life, that will support you, that will clap for you when God blesses you. I don't know about you, but I don't need any fair weather, fake friends during this season of my life. I want genuine and authentic people around me. And I'm praying the same for you. Be encouraged.
Man, I've been feeling so overwhelmed by the pressure to have the right thing to say. And the pain of watching the world crumble and wishing you could do something about it, but you can't. Looking out my window make me feel away. Every time I see the news, it make me feel away. Social media that made me feel away. But when I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I feel okay. When I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I know you feel my pain. Yeah. I woke up this morning, stayed in bed, ain't wanna go out. I see Twitter, IG bout to make me throw my phone out. People love to judge a bunch of stuff that they don't know about. Feel like Jesus, this would be the perfect time to show how. Pick and choose a light or let fly. You only want the truth and it protect you. I can tell you Jesus ain't white, but you'll ignore the light, it don't affect you. Racism's real and that's that, but we just see the tape and then react. New tape leak new facts, but we don't want the facts when he black. I don't care you're black or white, none of that matters in the afterlife. What are we acting like? Either the world or the church, but if not us, then who should have it, right? We are so divided right now. I just shut my eyelids and try to fight this depression I'm in right now. Trying to quiet my mind down, mind down. Looking out my window make me feel away. Every time I see the news, it make me feel away. Social media that made me feel away. But when I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I feel okay. When I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I know you feel my pain. Yeah. It pains me to see the blind lead the blind, and punish those who attempt to see and think with their own minds. I don't care about right or left, just life or death, and good and evil. I promise you it's not possible to know that when you look at people, real talk. All I see is manipulation, everyone forced to pick a side. Both them sides belong to Satan, both got demons in the basement. Yeah, some white folks are racist, but some get falsely accused. And some of y'all banging this right now and don't know that the racist one is you. Black folks love that quote, but don't see that we can be racist too. We get mad to the degree that we can think and act just like a racist do. Whether CNN or Fox News, it's one-sided, they both biased. One will only show the nice protest, the other side will only show the riots. They don't care about the truth, all they seem to care about is whose side winning. Folks side picking, everybody willing to ignore the lies they side kicking. Both sides got truth too, so it's hard to tell who's who. I ain't gotta pick, I agree and disagree with what I choose to, real talk. Looking out my window make me feel away. Every time I see the news it make me feel away. Social media that made me feel away. But when I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I feel okay. When I talk to you, God, I feel okay. I know you feel my pain.
Term limits is an incredibly important piece of legislation that defends democracy. Without it, corruption can quickly run rampant, such as the case in Venezuela, who got rid of term limits for its president in 2009. It strongly suggested that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro rigged the election. While the Venezuelan Supreme Court ruled that Maduro won, AP News stated that the High Court is packed with Maduro loyalists and has almost never ruled against the government. They have also enumerated that volunteers collected voting tallies from 80% of those 30,000 polling booths nationwide, which revealed that Armando Gonzalez, Maduro's opponent, won by more than a 2-to-1 margin. No matter where you look, the need for term limits is everywhere. Hi, I'm Holly Robichaud, and this is breaking news on term limits. Don't voters deserve to know when their representatives have failed them by pledging their support for a pressing issue until it's no longer convenient to them? Don't you have a right to know if they've flipped on you? Term Limits Action is a YouTube channel that monitors the individuals who have flipped on their pledge. Hey, you got to check it out.
When Claudia Tenney wanted your vote, she signed the U.S. Term Limits Pledge. But now, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney is breaking her U.S. Term Limits Pledge. Term Limits Action is responsible for the content of this advertising. Diapers in politicians must be changed often, and for the same reason. And already something stinks about Derek Van Orton. Now politician Van Orton is breaking his U.S. Term Limits Pledge. Term Limits Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Support for term limits at all levels of government is growing, and initiatives for term limits are increasing. More and more municipalities are passing and enacting term limits for city officials. What's more is Governor Magazine recently did an article that showed that female representation on city councils has risen dramatically, more than 50% since 2016. Why? Because of term limits. Morgan Hill, California is one of the last South Bay California cities without term limits for city officials. In a welcome turn of events, members of the city council voted to place a ballot measure that would set a limit of 3 or 4 terms or a total of 12 consecutive years on the November ballot. Way to go, Morgan Hill. Why don't you join the movement? In Oregon, our state co-chair, Andrew Kalloch, penned an op-ed that has been running throughout the Beaver State. Among his excellent points, he wrote, "If voters don't have a real choice and elected officials, in turn, don't fear the ballot box, then we are left with an increasingly unaccountable system that ceases to benefit from the wisdom of the people that is the lifeblood of democracy." Setting congressional term limits would take power away from Washington insiders and put it back into the hands where it belongs, with the people. It will diversify Congress, providing a fairer playing field for younger candidates as well as women and Hispanics. And it will lead to a Congress that is responsive and accountable to the issues facing everyday Americans. As Benjamin Franklin, who supported term limits, aptly said, "In free governments, the rulers are the servants and the people are their superiors. For the former to return among the latter does not degrade but promote them." The message for congressional term limits is getting out at the state level, and the response has been enormous, as you can imagine. An additional 56 2024 state legislative candidates signed our pledge over the past 2 weeks. That's right, 56. We anticipate that after November, we will have a record number of state legislators and members of Congress in office who have signed the U.S. Term Limits Pledge. And this is happening because of people like you who support term limits and the power of your vote at the ballot box. I also want to thank our pledge team who's out there working every day to get these pledges. You might remember that 2 congressional representatives from New Jersey passed away this year. Bill Pascrell and Donald Payne. The former was replaced by State Senator Nellie Poe on the November ballot as a Democratic nominee for the 9th Congressional District, according to New Jersey Monitor. While she was nominated by over 400 committee members, all the voters within that district would have had a say if term limits were in place. Pascrell had served 28 years. If he were term limited out of office years ago, voices beyond the committee members would have been heard. The same can be argued in former Representative Donald Payne's case. He served for over 2 decades by the time of his passing. While there was enough time to hold a special primary election for his seat, it's still a problem of members in Congress serving so long that they pass in office. You know what time it is. It's time for the Corrupt Politician of the Week, and this week it's Representative Doug Lamborn. Representative Lamborn was first elected to Congress in 2006. Prior to that, he served in the Colorado State Legislature from 1994 until his election to Congress. Axios.com reports that Representative Lamborn was investigated by the Office of Congressional Ethics for possibility of misusing office resources, which included allowing his son to live in the basement of the U.S. Capitol and accepting improper gifts from his aides. According to the report, his aides testified that they were used to run errands for his wife and help his son apply for a federal job. That's not all. According to the Denver Post, during the pandemic, he refused to allow his staff members to social distance and created an unsafe workplace. Allegedly, he contracted the virus and lied to doctors, saying that he hadn't been in close contact with any employees who tested positive. They reported that he was sued by a staff member, and Lamborn settled the lawsuit. He's another prime example of why we need congressional term limits. Congressional term limits can become a reality. We've got the momentum, we've got the message, and we've got the support of the people, but we can't do it without you. Are you going to go to termlimits.org today and get involved? I'd love to see your name pop up on the volunteer list. We need your help. And be sure to share this program with your family and friends. I'm Holly Robichaud for U.S. Term Limits Breaking News. I'll see you soon.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap is a independent news source, if you will, local, nothing big or anything like that. That means I have nobody who's trying to force me to bring something that has a biased opinion. If you've followed anything that the Bridging the Gap has brought forth, you will see that we are all pro. When I say we, it's truly just myself right now, to God be the glory, but we keep it all pro-community. Any interviews you've seen me do in the past, I mean, you know, whether you like that person or not, one thing you can say, and this is not to be in any way prideful or anything like that, but I try to keep it right down the middle. And that's just the way that we need it if we're going to bring nothing but the best to the people. That's what Bridging the Gap is all about. As I said, I'm not representing anybody or any entity, not with even the local PAC 14, not knocking them. This is actually just something that I felt was needed. So Bridging the Gap is just that. This segment, I want to talk to you about term limits. Term limits, and I'm talking about here, well, I want to say just countywide, but as I've done my research, I've seen that it's something that's hitting not just county or state or city, but even nationwide. Term limits. Now, we know that our president can only serve eight years, okay? And pretty sure coming forth, you'll have some will try their best to be in there for more than 8 years, but there's a term limit on that. And I thought it was for all of Congress, but it looks like the more I'm reading, the more I've seen there's a bigger fight being put up for term limits. I'm seeing, as far as here in Maryland, that there's 3 counties that have term limits for their council and executives, and you know, that's something that I think is needed. Okay. Nobody needs to be in there for more than 8 years, if you ask me. I mean, you can leave an impact in a positive way in 8 years, or you can leave a lot of damage in 8 years. And anything past that, I believe that it becomes all about reputation. Okay, and it should never be about reputation for a person, but it should be for the good of who they're representing. A good leader should not need more than 8 years to make a difference. Okay, and I'm talking about elected in that position. Now, of course, if you run for mayor and you win, you do 8 years. I don't see anything wrong with going for county executive or something like that. I'm just talking about the same same exact seat. I mean, we've got some that's been on our councils, whether it's county or city, it's been on there for over a decade. Now. Not saying that they haven't made any good choices and good decisions, because obviously they're still in office, but there's also been a lot of things that has been hang-ups, and if you look at those votes, the votes that kept this in gridlock, if you will, have been those same people who have been in those seats for numerous years. When I first started talking about term limits a lot more, a couple things came up. One was, would that just impact just the council, county council, and the county executive? Well, I mean, I'm not no lawmaker or anything, but I would hope that would be just all the way across any seat, including for state's attorney or sheriff. I'm just saying. I really think that if we're going to run for elected offices, it shouldn't be based upon popularity. Okay, a popular leader doesn't make us a good leader. And not saying that many popular leaders, and that I definitely know the sheriff has done a great job, but I'm not saying a lot of popular leaders aren't great leaders, but I'm saying popularity doesn't make a person a great leader. It just means a lot of the same people are voting for him, and sometimes I think change is good. So, okay, the governor's office already has term limits. It's like the president, okay? So for the state of Maryland, the governor already has a term limit. So why shouldn't that trickle down to the counties? And I get it. They want to give it up, leave it up to each county. Well, we see here in Wicomico, there's a push to get rid of the executive form of government. But yet, if you look back when I went on in front of the council when they were talking about getting rid of the executive form of government, I encouraged them to do term limits. Now, of course, the former lawyer for the county came in right behind me and said there's no need for all that. A couple things come to mind there is why would the former attorney be so adamant about there being no term limits when there's a couple people that have been on that council since he was the attorney, but just a good old boy, just saying. So the governor's office, the president's office, they already have term limits. And you see there's 3 counties that have term limits for both their council and their executives already here in Maryland. Right here in Maryland. Having term limits eliminates the big-headed, scratch my homeboy's back politician approach. Well, for the most part. Okay, when I say that, I mean it shouldn't be about who I can call up for a favor. It should be what's the best decision. And if you have term limits, you won't have the same old faces making the same little decisions for the same little small group that they call friends, they're influencers. It'll be someone that's really listening in for everybody. Everybody. You know? I mean, truthfully, now I know we're talking about term limits here. I personally think that when it comes to running for sheriff, I don't think that the sheriff position should be a partisan decision. I'm just saying, if you got 3 Republicans running for sheriff and you have no Democrats running for it, that means only the Republicans get to pick that sheriff, or vice versa, if it's all Democrats. I think it should be nonpartisan when it comes to the election of the sheriff, but it's not up to me. Okay, but anyway, I'm getting back to these term limits. When we truly look at the things that have been undone in this country, the same names appear on the list that have been there. I mean, again, we're talking about with Congress, when we're talking about here locally. When we see things that have been left undone, we look at the list of those that made the decisions. Are you seeing the same names? Here in this county, we are. So what does that mean? Maybe we need to change the names. Okay? We don't need to get rid of any part or branch of government. We need to just change the names. We need to get more people involved. Okay? As we get older, more people need to step up. Not saying that the older folk can't do nothing, but I'm saying when you've been in there too long, it becomes a job, not a passion. Okay? When we truly look at the things that have been done, just think about it. And, I mean, this last group that's been on council has been on council for at least the last 2.5 years. Are we seeing the same things going on? I mean, are there any promises that's being fulfilled, or are we just seeing bickering? Again, I know this sounds kind of biased when I say this, but I've seen a lot of the campaign promises that the executive made come forward or happen, okay? And again, yes, I am a very, very, very big fan and a very big part of the west side of this county, talking about down Nanticoke Road, but there's so many things that we've gotten better at, as she had made campaign promises about. But what about the good old boys that's been on the council for more than 8 years? Other than trying to get rid of the executive, have we seen them really do anything? All right, next one. According to a study done, 5 out of 6 Americans believe in term limits for Congress. 5 out of 6 Americans believe in term limits for Congress. And that's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not an independent thing. It's the fact that the same people making the same decisions gets old. So if 5 out of 6 is talking about that for Congress in this nation, just think about it. How many people truly need to get behind term limits here locally? Okay? Montgomery County is pushing hard for their term limits on just the executive. I find that kind of interesting, but they are fighting very hard for term limits on their executive, but at least they're looking towards getting these term limits. I truly think it needs to be across the board. I think that all should never feel like they can just get comfortable and make it a career being in office. That's the difference between an elected leader and a politician. Always aim high. That way you won't shoot yourself in the foot. At the same time, remember who you serve. I'm talking to those elected leaders. Remember who you serve. Okay? And always seek to go higher. Don't sit there and use your power to scratch your buddy's back, but make a difference for everybody. That's all we ask. Been bridging the gap. I hope this has been informational. Again, we're going to be doing a lot more things with this term limit thing. When I first started talking about term limits, I was talking around some of my conservative friends, and they were all for it, but I found out that that window of opportunity to get it done had already closed. But from what I'm understanding, it should be opening up soon. And what I would like to see, I'd like to be a part of, is people starting to work towards getting the signatures and getting the motivation of getting this on the ballot. Okay, instead of leaving up to 7 sitting up there at the council to put something on the ballot, let's we the people put something on the ballot. It's not a Republican or Democrat, a black or white thing. What this is about is term limits, about the same old faces. Sometimes those same old faces need to allow us to help them retire. So new faces, new leaders, new vision can have this part in making a difference for where we live. This has been Bridging the Gap. Have a great one.
Hello, everyone. My name is David James, and before I go any further, I want to thank every firefighter in this county, because seriously, each and every one of us don't know how important they are until we actually need them ourselves. I'm actually up here today because I agree. If we feel, I'm talking about whether or not we need an executive form of government. I agree. If the people don't want it, then we don't need it. However, if the people had voted on it, then I guess we need it. However, if we feel like the people didn't know what they were doing, then just put it on the ballot. But at the same time, I challenge you guys, put term limits on it. Term limits has nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat. There's a lot of talented people. I've heard some great people out there speak. There's a lot of people that can be on the council, can be the executive. Look, if we take away the executive form of government here at county, we're showing the young people that you can do that nationally. Let's think about that. Another thing I want you to think about, and I'm watching my time, and I think I'm going to leave a lot of time. how do we look to the other counties? How do we look to them as far as, are we like adding value? People want to come here by them seeing us sit here and bicker and fight? Seriously. I know there's a lot of other places there is for people to go. But, you know, I tell a lot of my friends, come here to Wicomico. I'm from the west side of this county. We've got Cove. We've got Cedar Hill. We've got all those great places. And no, we don't need no trash down there, by the way. But at the same time, we need people to work together. Again, I'm going to say this before I finish here. Go ahead. Put on there. Please put on there. Rather than having an executive form of government. Please, because I think that we're all smart enough to make the right decision. Again. But also put term limits. And if you don't, we know why. God bless you.